Hi, this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. In this week's guitar lesson, we're going to learn how to play a very slow and easy to play melodic lead. It works on an acoustic or electric guitar, and it works for anybody at any skill level. You can play this finger style, you can play it with a pick, acoustic guitar, electric guitar. It doesn't really matter what you have. You'll be able to follow along. It's not technical, it's not very difficult. And all of these licks and concepts that are in this are things that you're going to learn how to play and apply to other things. So this is transferable information. It's not limited to just this lesson. That's the really cool part about it. So follow along, grab a guitar. I've got the lesson split into two parts. In this video, we'll take a look at the first half. If you'd like to watch the second half and download the tablature and the MP3 jam track, which I have in multiple tempos, you can get all of those learning assets for this lesson by going to ActiveMelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP310. Alright, so I wanted to write a song that was slow and melodic and really void of any major technique this week. Some of the best music is music that's just all about a melody, a simple melody, easy to understand, easy for our brains to process. And I think that a lot of the times, and I'm just as guilty of this as anybody, but the guitar instructional stuff tends to be flashy and kind of over the top. And a lot of that is just to try and grab someone's attention. You want to do that, but being honest about it, that's not always the best music to listen to. So I wanted to create something this week that was just fun and easy to play. It doesn't matter where you are as a guitar player. This will be something that you can follow along. But the most important thing is for you to understand how to play it and apply it to other things. I want this to be transferable knowledge so that you can play it in other styles of music. You're not just limited to this song and this jam track. Now, if you're not a premium member, you should definitely check it out because you can get the jam track, and I have it in multiple tempos. I have an even slower version so that you can try playing along and fill in those gaps and just try and get your timing down. And then phase 2 of this would be take these licks and apply them to another jam track or another song. And how can you do that? And I'll explain how to do that as we break down this lesson. So real quick on the tone, the real secret sauce to the tone would be a tremolo pedal. If you have a tremolo, you can use that. Don't go out and buy one if you don't have one. You don't have to worry about it. This works fine on an acoustic guitar. But you can hear a little bit of a shimmer in the sound. So on the depth knob of your tremolo pedal, you'd want to turn that down so that it's not too deep, not too wavy. The other effect that I'm using is a little bit of delay. You can hear a little slap back delay. So if you have a delay pedal, you can do that as well. But don't spend too much time worrying about that stuff. I mean, that's just sort of, it all depends on your ear and what you're doing that day anyway. It can change from day to day. Okay, let's talk through the song. Now, this song is fairly simple from a chord structure perspective. We'll talk through the chords first. The song is played in the key of B. So the one chord is a B. And then it goes down a half step to a B flat or an A sharp. And then we go back to the B. And then the third chord we're going to be going over for this first part will be the F sharp, which will be the 5 chord, or it's an F sharp 7. Technically, it's an F sharp 7. But that's it. It's just the B flat, and then the F sharp 7. All right, so let's talk through the very beginning of this. So we start off with real simple little chord thing that's going on there. All I'm doing is I'm playing the B chord, the top part of the B major bar chord. So visualize the bar chord here where you bar on the 7th fret, and then these 3 fingers are making up the E chord shape. So if you think of an E chord down in first position, slide it up, bar it there. You don't need the full bar chord, you just need the top part of that. So I'm barring the first 2 strings on the 7th fret with my index finger, middle finger's on the 8th fret, 3rd string. So when I played that first little part, I played 3, 2, 1, and then I slide that down a half step to the B flat. Play that, that's a B flat chord. And then we come back to the B chord. Super simple so far, right? I didn't go in any crazy, shredding licks or anything, any scales. None of that's involved. It's just playing the top part of your B chord, going down to that B flat, and then back to the B. I should also mention that this comes in on the 1. So if we're counting it in, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, now the next lick, this is a really cool lick. It's simple, but it's cool. It goes... Let me show you how to play that. So you keep the triad there. You don't change those fingers. But then I'm going to take my ring finger here, and I'm going to do a hammer onto the 9th fret 2nd string. But I'm playing strings 1 and 2, so I'm playing both strings. Then take it off, and then we put it down on the 9th fret 3rd string, and then take it off again. So the second time there, I'm playing strings 2 and 3. So the first time, strings 1 and 2, then strings 2 and 3. All downstrokes with the right hand. Now, why is that an important lick? Well, for one, it lives around this triad, and this triad lives within this bar chord. So think about that for a minute. So if you can play this bar chord, you can play that lick. In fact, you don't even have to play the bar chord. If you can just picture that bar chord in your mind, then you can play that lick. So that means if you wanted to play it over a G, you can just picture the G bar chord. Now, what can you do with a lick like that? That's country. You can hear a lot of country influence in that. There's some blues in there. Just sliding it up 1 fret there, you get into the blues or the pentatonic scale. So there's all kinds of cool stuff you can do with a lick like that. And that's always been my approach to learning how to play guitar, is I'll take a simple lick like that I can understand and get my head around, and I'll start thinking about how I can play that along with something else. And then what else can I do? Can I bend strings? Can I go forward, backwards? Can I play it fast, slow? You start coming up with ideas. You can slide into just parts of it. And other things will come out of it. So don't just let a lick like that come and go. You have to really understand it and realize that there's a lot you can do with it. All right, so let's back up from the beginning. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that we go, I love this. Now what's happening here from a chord perspective is we're going to the 5 chord. We're going to that F sharp 7 chord. And you can hear the chord. Even though I'm just playing single notes there, I'm outlining the notes of the chord. So in my mind, I pictured the F sharp 7 chord like this. Now, you should know how to play this chord shape. If you don't, it's easy to do. These 3 fingers are playing the D7 chord shape. So if you know how to play a D7 chord down in first position, we're not playing a D7 chord here. We're just taking that shape and putting it here. So my ring finger is on the 9th fret 5th string, and my pinky's also on the 9th fret. That's on the 3rd string. So you have those 3 notes, and then your index finger goes down on the 7th fret 2nd string. Now we're not going to play that chord. I'm just wanting you to be able to visualize it. So these notes start to make sense. So it starts with ring finger on the 9th fret 3rd string. We go down to the 8th fret 3rd string, back to the 9th fret 3rd string. While that note rings out, my middle finger comes down on the 9th fret 4th string, and then my index finger goes down on the 8th fret 4th string. So it goes. Let me do that slowly. All right? And now after that I go. So while that note rings out there, the 9th fret 3rd string, and I'll talk about that note in just a second, my index finger does a big stretch over here to the 6th fret 4th string, and then it goes up and up again. Now I just slid that. I did not pick it. You can pick it, but that's not how I played it. I slid it up 2 frets like that. Now what are these notes here? Well, those are notes in the major scale for F sharp. So remember, we're playing over the F sharp chord. There's your F sharp chord. So if you were to play the major scale for F sharp, look at that. See those notes right in the middle of the scale? That's why they work. And so from a technical standpoint, that's what's going on there. But I didn't think about it that way. I knew how to play those 2 notes and hint at an F7 chord because I use that quite a bit. But I just kind of walked it down. I could hear it in my ear. I could hear that scale. And you'll start to hear scales the more you play and improvise and use this stuff. It starts to all kind of come to you. You've got the ideas in your head. That's the hard part. You can't get them from your head to your fingers, especially when you're improvising. Not in the beginning, but you will if you just keep at it. So that's what's going on. Now this note that's just ringing out, that's the 7 note out of the 7 chord. So if you're playing an F7 chord, that's what's happening. So that note just rings out, and it colors the entire little lead part there, those notes, as like an F7 chord, just by hanging on to that one note and letting it ring out. All right, let's back up and play it from the beginning now. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, now the song goes back to the B chord, and I played. Now all I was doing was I was picturing the major pentatonic scale pattern 2. So when I know that, when I see that chord, I know I've got pattern 2 of the major pentatonic scale right within that chord. And if you want a refresher on this, if this is like totally foreign to you, you can go to EP310. That's a lesson that I did called Mixing the Major and the Minor Pentatonic Scale. And I talk specifically about this area here, and I use this all the time. So it's the 7th fret 2nd string, 9th fret 2nd string, and then I do a quick hammer-on pull-off. My middle finger goes down on the 8th fret 3rd string. My ring finger goes down on the 9th fret 4th string. Now what did I just do there? Look at those notes. But we're back to that B bar chord. I was just building the notes of the chord. I could just see them. And then I knew the song goes to the B flat. So I just slid everything down a half fret, but I'm only playing strings 4 and 3 there. I didn't play the full chord. I just thought it didn't need it. And then slid it back up. And by the way, this sliding down a half step and up, even if the bass isn't doing that, so you'll hear the bass in the jam track, it actually is playing that, and you're kind of following what that's doing. But even if it isn't, even if you're just playing like a straight country song, slow country, straight blues song, you can still go down a half step and go up back to your tonic or your root, and it'll work. It works every time. It's just it's almost sounds like, depending on how you do it, it sounds like you're playing out of the box, or you're playing something kind of jazzy. But I use that quite a bit. Sliding into chords, sliding into notes, starting a half step down. It just sounds more calculated when you do that. So we played the B, we went down to the B flat, and once we come back to the B, I played. Let's learn that. So what I'm doing there is I'm playing the first 4 notes out of that bar chord now. So there's your triad. I'm just adding my ring finger to the 9th fret 4th string. Playing all 4 strings there. My pinky goes down on the 9th fret 1st string. And then it slides up. I use my pinky for that. I find that to be the easiest. So it'd be up to the 11th fret 1st string. And then it slides up. I didn't pick that, but I slid up to the 12th fret 1st string. And then there's a hammer-on between the 10th fret and the 11th fret on the 1st string. Ring finger goes down on the 12th fret 2nd string. So all together you have. Now what are these notes? What's going on here? In my head I was picturing chord shapes. So this goes back to the whole caged thing, why that's so important. So I was picturing this chord shape, and then I was picturing this one up here. Now that, you can see, if you just look at those 3 fingers, it looks like I'm playing a D chord. And I actually am making that chord shape, but when you play it up here, it's a B chord. So you have a B chord and a B chord. And you can see, you can connect those however you want in your mind. But that's what's going on. So I was coming up to this chord shape in my head. So I'm just dancing around the notes of that chord shape. And those are 2 notes in the chord shape. Okay, Then the song goes back to the 5 chord right there, and I played, and then we go back to the 1 chord. Love that little walk down. Now I'm going to show you. Let me show you how to play it. Then I'll connect it to something. So it's I'll play it on the 2nd string, 11th fret. I'm going to do a hammer onto the 12th fret, back to the 11th fret. Slide down to the 9th fret, and then slide down to the 7th fret. So you can see I only picked that once. And then my ring finger goes down to the 10th fret, 3rd string, sorry. And then that slides down to the 9th fret on the 3rd string. So let's just get that first. One more time. Now while that note is ringing out, I've got my index finger free, and what I did was I barred the first 2 strings on the 7th fret and played those 2 notes. And then I could really easily, while that bar is down, I can just switch my ring finger for my middle finger, which would be on the 8th fret 3rd string. And now I'm playing the B chord. And so all this was, that was a sus chord. So that would be like your B sus4 chord. So it's kind of a precursor to the B, and then you resolve it on the B. So you can hear it's got some tension there, and then you release the tension when you play the B chord. Now this whole, what is that? Well, I was picturing, if you think about, we're playing over the F, or over the 5 chord, which is the F sharp chord. So if I were to play that chord here using the A chord shape, that's the A chord shape out of cage. So it's between, in this case, the 9th fret and the 11th fret. My fingers are kind of straddling those 2 frets. There's a little technique that I've learned where if I play 11th fret, 9th fret, 11th fret, 9th fret, 11th fret, 9th fret, I can play those notes over that chord shape. That should be a light bulb that goes off for a lot of you. So what that means is, if you're at a song with that chord shape, you can go, you can play a cool little blues lick there that goes into the 7th of that chord. And that's what I was doing. The only difference was I wasn't following those frets I just showed you there. I walked it down to this position because I wanted to be in position to be able to play that 1 chord. So I had that 1 chord in my sight, and I was kind of going down towards that. But those notes come from that lick that I've learned. So I want you to take that lick and just that concept, and now try it over D chord. So play a D chord here, and look at those notes. And look at what you can do with that. So that means if you're in a blues jam and the song is in the key of G, and you got a 5 chord that's a D, and a 4 chord that's a C, you can play. And then back to your 1 chord. So it just gives you some lick ideas. But that's all I was doing there as I was picturing that F sharp chord. All right, let me back it up from the beginning and play the whole thing. That's actually where we're going to end this lesson. I know it's kind of a lot of information. I don't like to cram too much into the part 1 video. I will see you in part 2. If you're a premium member, you can check that out. You'll have the tablature for this, the slow walkthrough, the jam tracks, which are in multiple tempos. You get all of that information. You've also got the entire back catalog of lessons. But let's wrap up part 1, and then I'll see you in part 2. All right, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.